In the wettest theatres of World War II, clean water was often harder to secure than ammunition. From the Burmese jungles to the marshlands of Eastern Europe and the Pacific Islands, soldiers regularly found themselves surrounded by water that looked plentiful, yet was dangerously contaminated. Disease, not bullets, was one of the greatest killers of the war. Out of this constant threat emerged a deceptively simple water treatment method using mud, sand, and thyme. It was not refined science. It was field-tested survival knowledge that worked when nothing else did. Why swamp water was a battlefield problem soldiers could not ignore. Swamp and marsh water is rich in organic decay, bacteria, parasites, and suspended particles. Drinking it untreated led to dysentery, typhoid, and parasitic infections that could cripple entire units. Chemical purification tablets were limited and, often rationed. Boiling required fuel and time that patrols did not always have. Engineers and medics, therefore, relied on an older principle, slow filtration through layered earth, that well mimicked natural groundwater cleansing. So, here's how the mud filtering method actually worked in the field. The trick relied on controlled percolation rather than just straining. Soldiers dug shallow pits near swamp edges, always uphill from latrine areas. The pit was allowed to fill slowly with surrounding water, seeping through layers of soil. Mud, sand, clay, and plant roots acted as a natural filter. As water moved laterally and downward, heavy sediment settled, bacteria adhered to soil particles, and organic matter was reduced. After several hours, sometimes overnight, the collected water in the pit appeared clearer and carried, significantly lower pathogen loads. While not sterile, it was dramatically safer than direct swamp water and far less likely to cause immediate illness. Why mud, not just sand, was critical to the process. Modern filters emphasize sand, but World War II field manuals stressed fine mud and clay-rich soil. Clay particles carry electrostatic charges that attract bacteria and viruses, binding them to soil rather than letting them pass through. Mud also slows water movement, increasing contact time, which is essential for biological filtration. Soldiers learned quickly that fast-flowing water was dangerous. Slow seepage meant cleaner water. The uglier the mud, the better it often worked. When soldiers had a bit more time on their hands, they found ways to improve their water filtering methods. If a unit stayed put for a while, the simple pit would be upgraded into a sort of semi-permanent filter. They'd arrange layers deliberately. First coarse gravel at the bottom, then sand, and on top a layer of fine mud mixed with leaf litter. This setup, actually mimicked the way natural aquifers filter water. Some units took extra precautions, lining their pits with fabric socks or even bits of canvas. This helped prevent the sides from collapsing and kept sediment from getting stirred up. Water would be drawn out carefully, using cups instead of just scooping, which really helped keep it nice and clear. Now, if they had the means, soldiers would take that filtered water and give it one more treatment, boiling it briefly or sometimes just leaving it out in clear containers under the sun. Both methods could help reduce the risk from any lingering biological nasties. Where this technique was officially recognized, British and Allied jungle warfare manuals reference soil filtration explicitly, especially in places like Burma and New Guinea. Soviet troops operating in marsh-heavy regions, use similar methods that were adapted from peacetime rural practices. Even German field survival guides. They acknowledged seepage wells as emergency water sources when surface water was unsafe. This was not folklore. It was institutional knowledge, really, refined under pressure. Now, let's talk about how modern survivalists can apply this method correctly. You see, the process still remains effective today, so long as it's used responsibly. The first step, really, is site selection. It's important to choose ground that's slightly elevated above the water source, and be sure to avoid areas with animal tracks or runoff channels. Next, you'll want to dig a pit that's about 1 to 2 feet deep and allow it to fill naturally, instead of, pouring water into it. Patience here is absolutely critical. Trying to speed things up just makes it worse. Once the water clears, draw gently. Be careful not to disturb the bottom. Always follow filtration with boiling whenever possible. This method, reduces risk, but it does not eliminate it entirely. Understanding its limits is really part of using it wisely. Why did this trick work when so many improvised filters failed? Well, the strength of the World War II mud filtering method was honestly scale and time. Instead of forcing dirty water through a small filter quickly, it allowed nature to do the work slowly, across a much larger surface area. This approach reduced clogging, improved bacterial removal, and, importantly, required no manufactured materials. It also worked continuously. Once established, a seepage pit could provide water every day with minimal maintenance, making it absolutely ideal for encampments and prolonged operations. Why this knowledge nearly disappeared after the war is, a bit of a story in itself. You see, after the conflict ended, folks started to rely heavily on chemical purification, bottled water, and all sorts of portable filters. That shift really pushed soil filtration out of common use. It was often seen as primitive, even though it was actually very effective. Yet, modern crises, whether it's floods or infrastructure failures, keep proving the value of methods that don't depend on any supply chain at all. The World War II mud filtering trick, it was born out of necessity, tested by hardship, and honestly, validated by survival itself. It still stands as one of the most reliable, low-tech water solutions ever used in combat environments, and that's something worth remembering. So, if this exploration of wartime survival knowledge added real value to your understanding of practical history, please do support Backyard Wisdom by subscribing, sharing this guide, and helping to keep these proven techniques alive for future generations of thinkers and doers.